But we go to our next guest. His name is Cllr John Edwards. He's an independent councillor that covers Sandhurst, and he's here to talk about what police chiefs have been saying about the St George's and Union flag. Hello, sir. How are you?
Yes, good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm very good indeed. Now, how did you feel when you read... Just so people know, Emily Spurrell is the chairwoman of the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners. Thankfully, this Labour government said they're going to get rid of police crime commissioners. I'm hoping this group will also disappear into non-existence. But she told a national conference that a surge in St George's and Union flags being hung on lampposts, motorway bridges and street signs across the country was sowing fear and fuelling division. I mean, really? Do you think that's the case, John?
No, and it felt, you said how it made you feel at the start, and it made me familiar because in my area, loads of flags went up and the council ripped them all down the next day, and then they went back up again, and politicians were calling them divisive, so the rhetoric sounded very familiar. But my point is that, you know, they're doing nothing wrong. You know, one, this is our national flag. That cannot be divisive in itself. But two, yes, these people are flying them to protest. They're protesting against policy, immigration, mass immigration, illegal immigration, you know, national identity. And that's fine in itself. And if you look at the stark contrast, it's no different to how pride flags get flown, Palestinian flags get flown, or even the EU flag in anti-Brexit rallies. You know, they were about protest and they were about identity, but yet no politicians or police called them devices or, you know, tools of intimidation. So I think the contrast and the, you know, is what's really noticeable here and upsetting, actually.
Well, I agree with you, John. I mean, I'm sick to the back teeth of the Palestine flag being flown everywhere because it is being used as a tool of intimidation. It isn't an actual nation state. It's now a political symbol that obviously is hijacked because Hamas runs Gaza. People were happily waving it on hate marches that were taking police resources from all parts of the country at the weekends in order to allow these to go on. But like you say, it's amazing how I didn't hear Emily Spurrell say anything. I don't think I could find anything. If I'm wrong, I'm happy to correct myself. But she said nothing when it came to Palestine flags flying all over the place, including lampposts in parts of communities. I've certainly seen that in bits of Birmingham. But yet the St George and Union flag goes up and, oh, it's the same old, this is racism, this is the far right. No, as you say, it's patriotic Brits saying you ignored us for decades. We told you in 2016 we wanted Brexit, and it took until 2019 for you to actually enact that. Then we told you that we wanted to take control of our borders, and it was a Conservative government that failed on that. And this Labour government continues to gaslight us and telling us they're smashing gangs, yet we're seeing record numbers come over. And like you say, this has just become a point now where the British people are saying enough is enough. Listen to us and do something, and then we will go on with our lives. But until then, this is the only way we can grab your attention.
Yeah, and that's quite an interesting point you made, is the Palestinian flag, you know, not always, but, you know, can be a sign of hate, especially with, you know, if you're linking it to Hamas, whereas our flag stands for freedom and democracy and liberty. And you also said that the politicians are linking it to the far right. They're saying it's the far right. But there's no central organisation here. That, you know, these flags have gone up spontaneously around the country. There's no joint manifesto. So I think it's really, and there'll be loads of reasons. So I think it's really unfair that yet again, politicians are just labelling people with loads of opinions and doing this for loads of reasons as sort of driven by malice or racism. It's so offensive. And the only thing actually they show is that all these people flying the British flag feel unheard. That's the main thing.
I get really bored of people saying, oh, but we need to reclaim the flag from the far right. No one, like you say, no one owns the flag. Who are we reclaiming the flag from? It belongs to all of us in this great nation of ours. And I say that as someone who doesn't care what your gender, what your race, what your ethnicity, what your religion, what your sexuality is. If you're a British citizen, or if you're someone who's come over to this country and is here on indefinite leave to remain, maybe one day wants to gain British citizenship, as long as you understand our values, our vision as a nation, respect them as I would respect them in your country, then I've got no issue with anyone or anything being in this country. But the fact that there's always this, has to have this almost an apology because in history we had an empire. Well, yes, we did, but so did Turkey. So did other parts of the Middle East. So did France. So did Portugal.
I'd go one step further. I'd say the empire was actually, you know, it's obviously nuanced, but I would actually say it's a good thing.
It was. Democracy spread, transport spread, education spread. Without those things, you know, let's be quite frank, would India have the rail infrastructure, the education and the democracy it has without the British Empire? Would that be the case in Jamaica and other parts of the world too? Yes, there were ugly parts to history. There's always ugly parts to history. But the truth of the matter is we don't hang what the Nazis did over Germany's head the entire time. We've allowed Germany to move on from its terrible past. Why is Britain always made to feel bad for what our ancestors did, even if they were ancestors? Like you say, I've got no family who were in the slave trade. I'm sure you don't too either.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's such a long time ago. I don't know. But, I lived in Greece in 2018 for a bit. And the idea that I could go over and go and say, I find your flag rather offensive, actually. Could you take them down? And the thing is, knowing the Greeks, I know exactly what they would say to me as well. And I think we just need to just say, actually, no, they're not offensive and they're staying up, quite frankly.
No, indeed. And what do you think, people like Emily Spurrell, do we need to tell these people to just get back in their box? I mean, what I also didn't like is yesterday the head of the National Police Chiefs Council, which is Gavin Stevens, said he too was concerned about division in society, but described the display of flags as an issue for local communities, adding, it's not for us to police flags. I mean, that's a step in the right direction, but what I don't like is they're still fence-sitting here. Why is it that people in charge of the National Police Chiefs Council, I know loads of bobbies, I'm sure you do too, they're very proud patriots. They put their lives at risk for our safety. They have our flag on their uniforms when they go into the front line of duty. They're doing what they can to keep us as a country safe. And it's always the bosses. It's always the bosses that undermine, in my opinion, the people on the ground who are the sensible, level-headed individuals.
Well, obviously the police, are very brave, and we call them as soon as we're in a scary situation. And I agree with you there. It is coming from the top. So yes, that comment is a step in the right direction. But why are they doing it? It's because they're political activists.
Yeah.
It's not impartial policing; it's political policing. And I think that what's really important to recognise here is that, even if you want to call this a protest, this is a protest against policy. It's a protest against immigration policy, illegal immigration policy, national identity. It's not about people. It's not targeting people.
Yeah.
These flags aren't being erected in certain areas or outside certain religious buildings. They're just going up down residential streets or high streets.
Yeah.
And the police should be absolutely categorically clear and make a statement that protesting against migration policy is not illegal and it's not wrong, and we definitely won't be policing it.
Absolutely. Well, look, thank you, John Edwards there, councillor in Sandhurst, independent councillor. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your views.